I was just at the library, and it had happened once that I went to Kohl's and I tried to buy some clearance Darth Vader house slippers from Kohl's from a young guy at the cash register, and I just had a $2 bill. And instead of going out to the car to get different money, I was wearing like a coat, like a brown coat. I thrifted. It was a vintage coat that I wore for a long time. People liked it. Anyway, he said, "Just take it, man. Just take it." So he thought I was homeless, but basically, and he's like, "My manager's coming, but just take it. Just take it." So he thought that that's how I was gonna keep my feet warm tonight, and he didn't want to take my last $2 bill. So I've always given homeless vibe, and now with my beard like this, I give it even more. And I was swimming, and then I went to the library, and there were a lot of men there, and a lot of them had like bags with them. Like I had my backpack with my iPad and stuff, and they were talking, and they even glanced at me like open to talk. I just didn't have anything to talk about at that moment, but one of them was watching like UFC on the one of the computers, and I was thinking, wow, like in this moment in my life, I'm really close to them. I feel a kinship with them. um I'm glad they have a safe place like the library to go to cool off because it's very hot. And there were a lot of men out in the park as well, single men, And I thought about how in society it's really easy to fall through the cracks, On my way to being dropped off there, my dad said, "Oh, we got to get you health insurance." And I was like, "Oh, we'll just declare medical bankruptcy if something happens." And I thought how close I am to that. I'm just kind of saved from it, from the promise of this room here. But it's not because I don't just, I'm, it, why would it get to this point? I'm not sad or miserable about it, but I'm able to see the similarities. And of course, I really think it's an of course at this point that universal basic income is just a necessity in order to move forward. Like everyone should be able to have a safe bathroom and a room, like a studio apartment. Everyone should be able to have flexibility in where they work. And if they're not working, or they can't work, or they don't want to work for nothing, they can have time and still have a place to live, and still have food, and still have health care, and these basic human necessities. And yeah, well, it won't be enough to just live a luxurious life, but it will be enough to live and to get by in these intermediate times like I'm in right now, where I'm applying for jobs, and I want to work, and I have a lot to offer, but it's not happening for me right now. There's a time for applying and a time for working. And I think that a lot of our system basically depends on that fear of falling through the cracks in order to squeeze, the work and motivation and time and energy out of the workers. And universal basic income that gives a basic living wage to people. It's not going to be enough to buy a house, but it's enough to buy a studio apartment, you know, and um, for children, um, enough to have a space for them. So, I don't think it's a meritocracy we live in. I think that's obvious at this point. So the only way to move forward, and actually, it's really not even about, like, we kind of just work under the presumption that to some extent it's a meritocracy. Like, whoever's homeless right now at the library all day, we just kind of think, oh, they probably don't really have much to offer the economy or to offer a job. Um, but David Graeber, in his book, Bullshit Jobs, talks about how 50% of jobs really have no purpose. So if we go with that, let's go with that as a presumption rather than the presumption that only people that are homeless don't have much to contribute. 50% of people with jobs aren't contributing, actually, so they're wasting their time. So that really rubs up against, if that's true, then we're not really getting the value economically even out of our population. Like, if people were able to quit their worthless job that they're miserable at, or their worthless job that they don't really contribute much to, which is potentially 50%, then they would be able to contribute meaningfully. And what would that contribution entail? We have no idea, because all of the energy has been wasted. It's like having a government program to build tanks, and then there's no war, and then so you just park all the tanks in the desert and let them rot. That happens. That happens with cars. That happens with caterpillars. I think in Russia that happened with caterpillars or something. But so we're under this presupposition that, oh, people don't have much to contribute. Well, maybe they've never really had a chance to actually contribute. And if we were to reorient our society about giving people the time and space to discover their real contribution, who knows what we would find. I mean, it's just like untapped treasure, untapped potential, especially with the internet and the interconnectedness. Like, you see every day, it's like, oh, janitor makes an amazing art piece that goes to the Met, or wins the prize for, a guy who, homeless guy wins the prize, or J.K. Rowling, single mom, she writes Harry Potter books on welfare checks. It's like, why do we have to have these grand successes to be saved from the hell of falling through the cracks of this society? Why do we have to prop up the welfare of these companies with the welfare of our people? The fear that they'll lose their own welfare, that they will not be well if they leave their job or lose their job. And how much energy and time and human potential is wasted in that endeavor. And isn't that out of date? And isn't there a will? If we can just give up on this meritocracy idea and this puritanical idea of working hard work. If you're in an Amish community or a Puritan community, every ounce of work that you give benefits someone, but not now. These jobs do not, let's say 50% of them don't benefit actually, and the time and energy would be better spent elsewhere. So if we could just, I think um, it's a gambit. It's a quick fix. It's a, magic bullet or golden bullet or whatever. When you silver bullet, it's a silver bullet to give universal basic income, because then we all take a step back and we think, okay, let me tune in. What do I have to offer? And even with the help of AI, I've discovered more insights about what I have to offer. And I've made inventions in the past few weeks, and I've reached out to organizations. I've understood my own bias, that I have an anti-institutional bias. I mean, clearly, right? But how can I overcome that bias now? And how can I search for how can I state my values to AI and have AI match those up with institutions that share my values? That is profound. And I don't like right now. I have my devices here from back when I had money. I bought these devices and I've had them for years. But I broke the back case, and I have Apple Care on this iPhone. And so all it will take is actually $30 to replace that. But I don't have $30. So, I'm trying to hold back on asking anyone for money, things like that. But even just the fact that I really feel that I'm contributing so much, but it's just not in a framework where I'm getting paid for it. And if society were to just simply pay me basic amount, it would keep me going. And I've never received welfare checks. I mean, I've thought about it, but I don't. It's not really, I don't know. I'm not sure about that. Like, I guess I could apply for it, but I applied for unemployment and I was rejected that because I didn't work there long enough. But, the reason I left that job was because I was accused of something. I was accused of something that was a fireable offense before they verified that I committed that offense, and I had not committed that offense, and I expected to address that issue, and they were unwilling. The person who did that accusation was unwilling to talk about it, and they called HR and had me fired. So, but I didn't work there long enough to gain unemployment from that, even though I was fired. So because that person was more valuable, and I understand that, but I don't have a job because my values did not align with that institution. Not because I was incapable. I was very capable, and I was very successful in that role, and it was an entry-level role. But anyway, and then I've done seasonal work, and it just ended the temporary contract. I've had many temporary contracts, but how can we reorient our society, like in public, like a public library? That's such a benefit, and I've benefited from it, and They even have like Wi-Fi routers you can get, things like that. But what if everybody was just empowered to be like on a random day, random Tuesday, go swimming and then go to the library and hang out and um, not have to worry about where food is coming from, and really take advantage of those resources to create a real community of people that are all equally empowered to contribute what they want. So, anyway, that's what I was thinking. Thanks for listening.